Welcome everybody to today's live attributed session. Yet again, we have a true expert here joining us today. We were going to talk about one of my favorite marketing channels, marketing ads networks, which is LinkedIn. It's not just any expert. Anthony is both an official LinkedIn certified individual, and I saw also your agency now. Anthony is part of the first agencies being certified as LinkedIn ads experts as well. So I'm really looking forward just to do a very good tour about the playbooks that's working right now for B2B companies with LinkedIn ads, and hopefully learning a lot from you and stealing some of your best tricks that we can go implement in how we do things at DreamDead as well. But Anthony, though you are a certified expert, there might be a few people who've never heard about you or your company before. So could you just start off with kind of like a quick tour of what you do and who you serve and how you help your customers?
For sure. So first, thanks for having me, Stefan. It'll be fun to dive in today. So a little bit about me. I've been doing LinkedIn ads for about over 10 years now. Back in the day, people asked, does anybody use LinkedIn? And nowadays, everyone's on LinkedIn. It's a very, very popular channel. So what I do, we run LinkedIn ads. We specialize in LinkedIn ads. We're an agency. Our agency name is Speedwork Social. So we specialize running LinkedIn ads for B2B companies. We do serve a wide range of companies. A lot of it is in the tech and software space. So we do run a lot of campaigns for tech and software companies. After that, we do serve like a wide range of industries. So we've kind of touched almost every industry that's out there. I created one of the only LinkedIn learning courses about LinkedIn ads about 1 or 2 years ago that got published. And then we have one of the only podcasts about LinkedIn ads. So just spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, just going super deep there. But it's been a great channel and always love chatting about it and deep diving on it.
Fantastic. And LinkedIn ads has truly changed a lot since you started using it. And at least for me, kind of the last 4 or 5 years, it has really accelerated. Whereas in the beginning, it was just a few things that you could kind of do. But maybe what's the kind of like high level kind of experience that you've seen kind of in the kind of involvement of the LinkedIn ads product as a whole?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'd say there's like 2 really big changes in recent history for LinkedIn ads. The number one being thought leader ads, the introduction of thought leader ads. Before thought leader ads, you could only run ads from company pages on LinkedIn. Nowadays, you can boost posts from individuals. So that's just totally changed a lot of the strategies that we'll implement, and just seeing that those are performing very well for a lot of people. So thought leader ads definitely changes the content and the strategy. And then the other side of things is the tracking and attribution side of things, and just getting visibility into the customer journey. Beforehand, there was very limited visibility. You could only have like UTM attribution. Nowadays, LinkedIn has the companies hub. They have a lot of new APIs, and we have a lot of great tools out there like Dream Data that then show us that customer journey. And that insight is just what will then inform the advertising strategies that we'll put together. So now having that data allows us to reverse engineer a lot of the customer journeys that we're seeing working. And then that helps you craft your ad strategies to best serve that going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's 2 or 3 years ago since we at DreamDead got access to a company intelligence API, which is basically what surfaces these impression and engagement level kind of metrics, which are not somebody clicked this or somebody submitted this lead form. And the difference in revenue that we were able to attribute to LinkedIn ads as we got access to that company level data was a 7x difference in how much revenue was actually coming out of LinkedIn ads as compared to that old school way of tracking where somebody had to click and then had to move over to a website, which is not how people consume content on social media.
Right. A lot more was just in the feed. So
they browse
back in the day,
consume it, and then move on to something else.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies are still working through that shift in what they look at metrics wise. I know there's a lot of companies that still, it's still like, what's that last click that we see in Salesforce, and they're going to go build their reports based off that. But as we know, and as you just said, like so much of everything happens in the feed or in dark social in ways that you can't track. So just having more visibility there, we love that. That's all very helpful for what we do. So yeah, we love tools like Dream.
Before we get into the too much in the weeds of it, Anthony, I like to ask this question about, like, how did you get into marketing? Like, what like sparked your curiosity for this domain?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you would have told me 11 years ago that I'd be a LinkedIn marketer, I would have been surprised to hear that. The long and short of my career is I started in the tech world doing software development at IBM. Got to work with a lot of big enterprise companies. We built software for those companies. I then started my own mobile app development agency. So this is my second agency I'm on now, but mobile app development, where we were building iPhone apps in the early days of the iPhone. And after you build an app, then people want help getting downloads for that app. So that was then my segue into the marketing world was, hey, we're building all these apps for people, and now they want help getting downloads. So let's go run some marketing programs to help promote their apps. And then my background being tech and software, it just lent itself to LinkedIn, and that's where we saw the best performance. So ever since then I've focused just on LinkedIn marketing and just went super deep there. Again, 10 years ago, there was like nobody doing it. Everyone asked, does anyone even use LinkedIn? Nowadays, everyone's on LinkedIn, and it's turned into a very good platform.
Super cool. It's a bit like how I got into marketing as well. I joined a company that had like just one founder, so we were two people, and he was the salesperson. So I had to figure everything else out. And one of the things were kind of, there's this thing with Google, and we want our pages to show up in front of the competitors. Okay,
Yeah.
let me read a bit about that. Okay, now I know how to do.
Yeah.
Now I know how to do that, and then that's just been one marketing discipline after another.
Yeah, those are the best ways to go about it, is just like learning by doing and going to do the research. There's so much stuff that people share out there that you can learn and then apply to your company. Some of it's going to work, some of it's not going to work. So you got to pick and choose what's going to work for your company and then build your own strategy. And that's the best way to learn the marketing.
Cool. Okay, so let's dive into the world of LinkedIn. The customers who come to you, or maybe I shouldn't say your customers, but the people who are not customers of yours, what is it generally that these B2B companies don't do right today?
Yeah, so there's a few different things. I'd say across the board, everyone, the biggest issue we always see when we look at a new account or work with a new customer is that they're using all the default settings. So this is very basic, but they're using all the default settings on LinkedIn. They have audience network on, audience expansion, because those are just the default settings when you set up a campaign. So this is just the most common thing that we see, and even bigger companies that will take a look at their accounts, we see these issues happen. So most common is that. And for anyone listening, I'm sure you already know, turn off audience network and turn off audience expansion until you've really got that nailed in. But past that, like a little bit more advanced things that we're seeing lacking is people are still just using company page ads. They're still just running directed demo, and they're still just looking at last touch attribution. So those are like the most common things that we see for people. And really, I know like LinkedIn ads is a newer platform for a lot of companies. A lot of companies have run Google ads, and then they just take those Google ads and try to run the same thing on LinkedIn. And, of course, it's not going to work the exact same way. So the first is the mindset shift from search to social, and how social is more of a demand generation platform, and then rethinking your strategy of like what's really going to get somebody interested, really create that demand. And then it really comes down to the content that you're going to be putting in your ads, and not just driving straight to demo. So I'm sure we'll dive into this a lot more today. But something I always say is you also don't need to make the funnel any longer than it needs to be. If there's active demand out there for what it is that you're promoting and you're getting bites on your demo ads, sure, you can go direct to demo. But for most B2B companies with a higher ACV, you need to start building out those stages of the funnel, because otherwise you're just not going to get a lot of results from just demo ads.
It is a lot like you're selling something that is pretty expensive, and it will probably take some work to integrate this product. And if people have never heard about you before, they're not just gonna buy your product or book a demo, because they have tons of other stuff to do, and whatever you're pushing, it's just not going to go on the top of the list immediately. That's going to take a lot of time and a lot of ad impressions before it moves.
Right. And like the trap to watch out for is like, you can, if you are going straight to demo and you do get some people who sign up or opt in, the likelihood of them showing up to that demo call is much lower if they don't know anything about you. And then they're going to be just uninformed, unqualified when they get to that call. So it's not really a demo call at that point. It's really like a basic intro call. So those are just things to kind of keep in mind, is even if you are getting those bites on your demo ads, you're still going to need to build that awareness and information beforehand. Otherwise, those demo calls are not really demo calls.
Yeah, that's very true. Like LinkedIn themselves has kind of, I don't want to say pioneered, but they have offered this like 95-5 rule, which where they talk about the 5% that are actually out there buying a solution right now in some degree, whether it's 1% or 5%, let's put that aside. Yeah. And then there's the 95% that are not out there buying a product like yours right now, even though they would fit your ICP from an addressable market point of view.
Yeah.
And kind of, you so quickly exhaust the 1 to 5% bucket, and you don't want to just be overstuffing budget in there anymore to force your way into the feed, because you're just going to be spending a lot of money that goes to waste, as opposed to all the other 95% who might have budget in 6 months, or might have time in 6 months, or the persona changes job within the industry, and then the next job that they land, then they will come to you and say, hey, I would like your product.
Yeah. Yeah, that's from the B2B Institute. I actually just had somebody on our podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about the new research trends they were putting out for 2026. But the B2B Institute puts out a lot of great research. They look, platform wide, industry wide on LinkedIn and off LinkedIn. So the 95-5 report is probably one of the most popular ones that they publish. But yes, it comes down to most people, 95%, are not in market and looking for your solution at any given time. 5% are. So what the real work is getting in front of those 95 and then convincing them so that sometime in the future, when they do enter a buying mode, you're then top of mind for that decision.
Yeah, so I totally agree. So your clients, what do they like? What is the conversation that they're having in their companies about using LinkedIn ads?
Yeah, so as we approach LinkedIn ads, the things that we want to address here today is like buying cycles are long. We need to then craft our strategies to then serve and market to those prospects over the course of that long buying journey. Dream Data has put out some great data based on your research and your customer base, that the average buying cycle is 272 days. So that is quite long. That's not just a week or a month. You need to plan out long-term strategies. So the biggest thing is shifting from that just pure one demo ad to now building a full funnel approach. And again, if you can go right to demo and make a sale, great, do that. Don't make the funnel any longer than it needs to be. But for most companies with higher price points, you then need to build out this funnel. So the biggest shift comes from that one demo ad to now building out a full funnel strategy. Most people think about the marketing funnel in the simplest top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. And those terms still work in a lot of cases. But what I often look to do is plan out your stages of the funnel in terms of the stages that company is going through on their customer journey. And now I can explain that a little bit. So you're getting started. You're either going to set up your campaigns to go after your ICP, a certain industry, a certain company size, and a certain job title. That's going to be your prospecting campaigns. Some companies, they will choose their ABM target account list for the quarter or for the year, and maybe sales is going to give you that list. So this is where your prospecting campaigns start. So we're going to start there, and then we're going to move into retargeting. So somebody from that list has engaged with you. They have some touch points, some familiarity. You're then going to move to retargeting. And then once somebody has engaged multiple times, shown some intent, and tools like Dream Data are great for identifying this. There's lots of ways you might look at this. Your website analytics, HubSpot capture some of this, but other tools are great as well. You're going to start to identify what are the warm and engaged accounts that are qualified and have shown intent. So this is the third stage of your funnel. So prospecting, remarketing, and then you have qualified intent. So now we're starting to build the stages of the funnel so that we're going to focus our budget and ad dollars on the accounts that are closest to the dollar. After that, we're going to work on open opportunities. So, you have your high intent accounts that have shown interest, and now boom, we have some accounts that have had a demo and have shown interest. They are qualified. That's going to be our open opportunities list. So that's stage 4. And for all these stages, we do it around account lists because we know which accounts have shown that interest. So it goes from just a pure open wide targeting to now building a account list for each stage of the funnel. Open opportunities is number 4. And then, finally after that, that's when the customer expansion campaigns start. So, hey, great. We have some customers here. We also don't want to just purely exclude them from all the ads that we're running because then they're just going to see our competitors' ads. So it's great to also have a customer expansion and retention campaign running so that you are still in front of them. So those are the 5 stages of the funnel that really help structure your campaigns and serve this 272-day marketing journey so that you can stay in front of them. Because the challenge is that 272 days is a long time. A lot of the LinkedIn window, even just like the LinkedIn on platform windows it offers, is up to 180 days. And a lot of like tracking cookies and stuff expire much sooner than this long window. So that's why we need to shift to a company-based ABM approach to then create that marketing journey and then nurture them through it.
That's quite the setup, Anthony. It makes a lot of sense that. So you had prospecting, mid funnel, warm accounts, active deals, and then like customer marketing.
Yeah.
The way we do it at Dreamdata right now, we only have 2 layers right now. We have, let's call it just a top of mind layer. Mm-hmm. And then we have from you enter our sales pipeline until you buy. So the first part is just thought leader ads all the way. And then once you enter our sales pipeline, we'll show you much more product specific stuff. That is as far as sophistication as we've reached. And I think we could probably do better in the middle there, where kind of we go. I typically think of us, we have quite a strong awareness within the accounts we're going for, but we're not always really good at extracting the value out of that awareness, i.e. getting the demo call booked. And obviously a big part of it is this could be like a great collaboration with a BDR, SDR team that kind of would go for the warm accounts. But from like an ad platform perspective, what are those kind of, let's call them like mid-funnel? There's awareness, but they're not out there booking sales calls with you right now. What are some of the plays that you guys help your customers set up in that phase where there's general awareness, but there's kind of not active engagement with the company?
Yes. Yeah. So that middle there, that's probably the hardest thing to crack. And that's where like most people need to spend the most time figuring out, because there's a lot that can work there. So as a concept or a tactic, something that I think is important is having a step there at some point that somebody can opt in for subscribable media, I like to say, because running ads can be expensive. So you don't want to just purely rely on an advertising strategy. And I'm an ads guy. I run ads all day, but at the end of the day, ads can still be expensive. So you don't want to rely just on your advertising budget. So having a step in the middle there to have some sort of subscribable media is very important. So then you can start to leverage organic marketing, whether that's email marketing or organic social or both. So the ways that you can do that, the very basic is getting somebody to follow you on LinkedIn, whether it's your thought leader or your company page. That's the very basic step. And is a good first step to kind of be earning from people. That's a good sign to be seeing. But that's the most very basic step, because then they're going to see your posts in the future, and then you're communicating with them for free. You're not paying for ads for that. Otherwise, it's great to have some other sort of subscribable media. Again, like it's best if it's recurring. So maybe it's a newsletter that they're going to sign up for, so that they continue to get updates from you in the future. Lately, I've also really liked doing events. Recurring events are great. So, almost like a webinar like this, like a live session. This is like a recurring thing that you guys do. You have lots of different events that you host, and somebody might subscribe to your podcast. They'll subscribe on LinkedIn, and then they'll get to see these sessions in the future. So that allows you to communicate with them for free. You don't have to pay for ads for that. And then, if they are opting in for anything on your website, they're downloading a report or guide, or, getting to the demo step, then you're getting their email, and you'll be able to communicate with them from there. So that middle space, the two things is you need to be continuing to build the awareness with them, and then have that opt-in step so that you can communicate for free. So that's just like an important tactic, I think, that helps relieve your ad budget a little bit. So you're not purely just relying on ads, and something for companies to think about out there. And as you get,
I think it's super good advice, Anthony, about this thing about having micro conversions in B2B, because the big conversion you're going for is very expensive.
Yeah.
And most companies are not going to be there right now, but they do find it interesting what you do, and then you want to have ways to reach these people, while you kind of build on that interest, to potentially one day be at a place where they're actually ready for a sales conversation. So I think it's super smart what you're saying is like newsletters. Can you get people to follow your company page? Can you connect with people? Can you get them to download a resource so you can ship them more information? So really, really, if you don't have micro conversions in place, you're really making it hard for yourself to succeed, because the big conversion is very hard to make happen.
Right. Exactly. And especially in B2B marketing, when it's complex stuff that you're selling, you can't go right to just a demo.
And it's another thing that we here at Dream that I have found very, let's say, valuable in terms of running ads, has been just really focusing on which accounts are receiving ads, and we've actually pivoted just to running matched audiences.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's the list of accounts, only show ads to these accounts, and then I can rest in peace, so to speak, because I know I've handed them exactly the accounts that I want to receive ads. So that's like a simplistic way of doing it. But how do you work with your clients on building kind of the audience? Because when you said, for those who have not run LinkedIn ads, you typically enter a lot of segmentation criteria, and then you get a number of how many people fits into this audience.
Yeah.
So what is kind of the usual process for building audiences together with your clients?
Yeah. So a few different ways. The best like LinkedIn way to do it is to upload a list of customers into LinkedIn, and then let LinkedIn tell you what category that these customers fall in. So, go take your CRM list from your CRM and upload that so that you can get that matched with LinkedIn.
I'm going to force you to say exactly how you do this, because that sounds super interesting.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually pretty easy. So if you use a CRM like HubSpot that syncs right with LinkedIn, you can then build your customer list inside of HubSpot. You probably already have that. And then you can go to the ads tab in HubSpot and click sync over to LinkedIn. So it's like audiences, and you'll push that audience to your LinkedIn ad account. That will sync over. And then once that's synced over, and you also don't have to sync it. You could also download that CSV and then upload it to LinkedIn under the audiences tab inside of your LinkedIn ad account. And then once that's uploaded and matched, it'll take about 2 to 3 days. You can then click on the 3 dots and click generate insights. From there, LinkedIn's going to pop open its reporting dashboard to show the demographics makeup of that list. So that's where you'll start to see industries, company sizes, locations. And then if you do a contact list, like if you have enough people, enough customers, you can upload the actual buyers, like the decision makers, then they can tell you the contact level makeup of what are their job titles, what's their seniority, what's their job functions. And both of those are very good sets of information to get, because LinkedIn's telling you in its terms, so that you can plug it back into the campaign builder and then target those exact people. But these days, we like to take that a step further and use AI to start to do some of this research. This is where AI is great because it can crunch a lot of data for you. So starting to build your ICP list is, number one, again, your CRM data is your best data, but then you can also start to plug in, here's our current website, here's our competitors, here's their websites, here's the ads that they're running on the ad library. And then it can start to crunch some more data for you and tell you maybe more trends that you're not aware of. It can tell you market trends and stuff like that. So the LinkedIn analysis is like great step one, and then use AI to crunch even more data past that.
I think that is great. And just to explain, people who don't know, like LinkedIn has, like, for example, industry namings, and you might think your industry name is one thing, but LinkedIn might say it's another thing. So in terms of being able to pick out the right industries, seeing how LinkedIn interprets your current customer base, that's a really good, I don't want to say hack, but that's a really good advice to just double check that the one you would just pick straight off the list, whether that actually matches how LinkedIn would identify your current customers.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that can happen. Is industries are self-set in LinkedIn, so whoever's created your company page and is managing that, they're selecting the industry on LinkedIn, so they're typing in whatever that they think is the best one. There might be a sub-industry that's more descriptive for them, but for example, a lot of companies might just type in software, or they might just type in manufacturing, when really there's a better sub-industry, but a lot of those companies just set up their own company page. So that's why you just really need to analyze that list to see where they're landing in LinkedIn. And then that trend will tell you how to inform your campaigns.
Cool. I think that if people just do the things you've said so far, they're in a pretty good state. But
I hope they save some ad spend for sure.
but let's keep going. Then I think also there's also an opportunity once you have your customer segment, if you don't want to run more marketing towards those customers because they've already bought, you can also flip that and make it become like an exclusion audience as well. So you don't spend extra ad dollars on those who have already made the big conversion that you can't get more out of.
And for those stages that I mentioned, it's also very helpful to exclude them from one another, so that most so that your prospecting campaigns stay targeted at fresh prospects, somebody who's in remarketing or in open ops. Most of your open ops, they visited your website, so they're in remarketing. So you don't want all these people to continue getting prospecting ads. You want your prospecting campaigns to be going after fresh new people. So it is very important to exclude those from one another. And then yes, most people don't know you can even sync lists to LinkedIn, so it's one of the best things to do. Open opportunities, people who have requested demos, are qualified, they're considering your solution. This is a great place to take your ICP and then add in those additional stakeholders who are most commonly in those deal discussions. Often it's like a finance leader or an IT person or whatever makes sense for your sales cycle. So that's where we start to add these additional stakeholders, is in those open op campaigns, to increase penetration into those accounts.
Cool. I think if we then move on, so let's say you got a good audience running, how and when and why do we then start involving the sales team? I think this is I would almost go as far as to say, you should not run LinkedIn ads with having some sort of collaboration with your sales team. Because most of us are trying to sell pretty complex products that does take some kind of conversations, some kind of insistence that this thing needs to happen, and that is typically done by salespeople in the end of the day, at least in the larger sized B2B deals.
Yeah.
So how do you see this collaboration with, like, kind of, how does it go from being like marketing, we warm up the account, now there's engagement? Like, when is it that we want to be handing the accounts to sales, and how does that whole collaboration between marketing and sales look like should it look like when you run LinkedIn ads?
Yeah. So yes, I 100% agree with you, because the situation here is we're talking about higher price point products and services that your customer usually wants to talk to somebody before they pull the trigger. So that's why having salespeople involved is a very important part of this process. So the best ways to collaborate with sales, there's a couple different points that are most important. Is number one, aligning on the accounts that you want to be going after. So setting that initial prospecting list, it could be your TAM list or your target accounts for the quarter or for the year. Aligning with them on who do we really want to be going after. That's the most important first step. And then from there, the best place for sales to start getting involved is that third stage that I mentioned. So you have prospecting, then you have remarketing, and then you have high intent qualified accounts. So once an account hits that stage, that's a good time for your salespeople to start reaching out. And you can say things like, "Hey, I saw you've been checking out our product. I saw you've been, reading up on it. Are you interested?" You can start easily. You can start by inviting them to an event. "Hey, we're having this webinar coming up that's talking about this topic that we could see you were researching. Would you like to attend? Here's the link." So that's like the best easy way to get started. And then just the more and more intent they show or the more responsive they are, that's when they can then offer the demo. Like, "Hey, would you like to see this in action? Would you like me to set up a free trial for you so that you can try it out yourself?" Those are the best touch points for sales to start getting involved, and then you're really working together with sales to get those across the line.
Maybe just out of curiosity, like what do you typically use to mention high intent accounts as kind of a crucial thing? What does that typically mean for you? Like, what are the observable metrics for high intent in your world?
Yeah. So the best thing is interaction with your website. So you can start to see number of website visits from that company and then see what pages that those companies are visiting. So this is where you have to start using some additional tools like Dream Data and other tools like Dream Data like that, so that you can start to see what pages are what companies visiting. And then, I'd like to set, just take a look at what you're currently getting and then set some kind of threshold there. Like, "Hey, once somebody crosses this number of visits, they visited our pricing page, they've crossed this number of visits, boom, now they're a warm account. They've shown some intent. Let's start like having sales reach out to them."
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think it's it's so crucial that we in marketing understand that we we do need sales, and like as a company can only spend its go-to-market resources once, and you probably want it to go towards the same direction rather than having two separate departments, marketing, advertising to these accounts, and sales trying to sell to these accounts over here.
Yes, that alignment is going to make your dollars go a lot further for sure.
And I mean, also like in terms of like getting questions about why are we doing this advertisement, then at least if you can show, you told me these are the accounts that you want, we're running ads towards these accounts, you can see how many impressions they've received here, that will get a lot less complaints than if you had been showing your ads to accounts that had nothing to do with those that you agreed with sales about.
Right. Because once you do generate a lead, marketing team is very happy you generated a lead. And then if sales doesn't want that lead, then it's kind of all gone to waste. So that's why you want to align with them beforehand on what accounts, what ICPs do we want to be going after. So, hey, when that lead does come through and it does match the targeting criteria we did set, we don't have any, concerns from sales. We're like, great, this is somebody from the account that I've been working. Great. I'm going to go reach out to them and take it from there.
I also think there's so much, let's just call it like a bucket of intent technology out there today that you really need to start speaking with the accounts before your competition does.
Yeah.
Because it's not unique that you can monitor how many impressions you serve.
Yeah.
It's not unique that you can spot an IP address on your website. You really need a tight collaboration with sales, that they start reaching out at, let's say, quote unquote, at the right time. Because if those prospects start speaking with your competitors, then they'll start to be influenced by their messaging, and then your salespeople have to start defending against their positioning and all that all that stuff going on. So you'd rather be the one leading that conversation with those accounts before it gets messy.
For sure. You need to know that the average buyer here on LinkedIn is pretty savvy. They're probably investigating multiple solutions and doing their research. So yes, you want to get in front of that curve and, be the first one top of mind.
Yeah. If we then switch chapter a little bit to the content side of ads, Anthony, this is honestly, it's not something that I have over geeked out about. Kind of what, like, is it better to serve a single image? Is it a document ad? Some say video, some say messaging ads, and so forth. I think is it 8 different ad formats or something like that that is available?
I
Something in
think
that
it's like
range. Yeah.
nine or maybe 10 now.
So how do yeah, let's just do the ABC. Like, how do you go about selecting kind of what ad format, what type of that's 2 questions, sorry. So like ad format, and then there's the content inside the ad format afterwards. But like, how do you work with your clients about like finding the right kind of content to run towards the accounts that they want?
Yeah. Really, at the end of the day, all the above is good. Variety is good. Different people are going to interact with different things. So having a mixture is helpful. Next, it kind of comes down to what's the content that the company has to use. Sometimes they might have some really good documents or PDFs, and you're going to run some document ads. But otherwise, maybe we're going to think about mostly image, video, kind of your standard formats there. B2B is a little bit more basic. If you're using Meta or other platforms, people watch a lot more video on Meta. They don't watch as much on LinkedIn. While that is changing and we're seeing stats increase a lot in video on LinkedIn, it's still more of a text-based platform. And it's because these business decisions are often more logical. People need to read something. So text is still very important. So first I'm going to drill into thought leader ads, because this is where I get this question the most. What type of thought leader ads should I be posting? And across the board, case studies do the best. And there's a lot of stuff that can work well. So there's lots of stuff that can work well, but case studies across the board tend to work best. And really it's, hey, we helped this company achieve this result, and here's how we did it, and here's what you can learn from it and take back to your job and your company. Because at the end of the day, that's why people are on LinkedIn. They're on there to connect with other people in their industry, and they're there to learn something that they're going to take back to their company. The reason why they're not using Instagram or TikTok during the workday is because they're in a business mindset. They want to be reading business news. They want to be learning things for business that they're going to take back to their job and their company. So the type of educational posts that teach people how to do something and how to get a result that they want is the content that they're looking for. So that's what we want to do. We want to put out the content that our buyers are looking for. And case study posts are some of the best ways to do that. Again, lots of stuff that can work well, but case studies across the board. And it can't
yeah. How do you avoid it being that, or maybe that is I'm biased towards like, it can become too much like a corporate case study where it's like, here's this case study that PR approved that has a very stiff language and doesn't like say much. Like, how do you do a good case study, Anthony?
Now you're involving PR and legal, and then you're getting tricky there.
Yeah.
But if we're on the marketing team, then we're going to talk about writing a post that it can't just be a "we are awesome" type of post. No one's going to read that. It has to be a "here's how you can learn something" type of post. This is like this definitely gets a little nuanced. What I'd say is go scroll your own LinkedIn feed, read a couple, what posts are you gravitating towards and you reading, and then learn that style and then, write it back. These days you can use AI tools for a lot of that. Number one, have it critique the post maybe that you wrote. Is this too promotional, or is this a good educational post? Beware of pure AI generated content. It needs to have a human touch. We're seeing a lot of purely AI generated content is falling flat. Humans don't like to read AI generated content as much. So add a human element, jazz it up is what you got to do. But let's back to those thought leader ads. So formats. So there's a few different things to think about for formats for thought leader ads. Number one is text only posts. Formats get the most dwell time. So people sit there and read them the most out of all the formats. And it's because, my hunch is because as soon as you attach any kind of creative to that post, there's a little flag in the back of your mind. You're like, this could be marketing. This could be an ad. So when it's text only, we see that those get the longest dwell times. People sit there and read them the most.
Okay.
So that's great for your top of funnel content, your case studies. Someone's going to sit there and read it. The next formats is image format. Actually gets the most traffic click through to the website, because if you put a link in that post and then boost it, when there's an image attached, clicks to that image go to that URL. So they are the best at driving traffic, but they get less dwell time. Third is video formats. Video formats can make the biggest impression on people. Often video can be a little bit more expensive. You're going to get less traffic, but it can make some of the biggest impression on people because you have a very immersive format there. Video can be hard to do right, but a very strong video can also perform kind of the best across all these formats. But those are just some trends that we see from all these different formats on LinkedIn.
That was really interesting what you said about the text-based post, which I think most people think I gotta utilize the real estate that they offer me, so I have to put an image or a carousel or some kind of video there. I'll have to go think about that. Something that we've found that kind of just squeezes a few extra percentages out of the thought leader ads has been to kind of, once the organic post is up, make sure you go in and add some kind of a link to the post as you sponsor it. Like, let's say you have that pure text-based post and there's no link in the bottom of it. Then there's actually no way to, if people want to see your website or if they want to go to book a demo, then it's a very far lift or like cross your fingers that people would head over to your website afterwards. So we've started to, and tell me if this is not a good idea, Anthony, and to, before we start sponsoring, then we just go in and make sure there's some kind of small CTA link that takes people somewhere to make that chasm just a little bit shorter.
Definitely recommended for sure. There's a lot of best practices for organic social, and a lot of times people don't post a link initially because that could impact reach. There's a lot of like mixed research out there. Some people say it doesn't impact reach, so maybe you start with your link from the beginning, but kind of the more historical research is that you don't include a link organically so that you maximize reach, and then give it a few days, give it a week, and then when you're ready to boost it, go edit that, add your link in. And then taking this a step further is you're going to have your different posts. Some posts are going to be more of those top of funnel case study like posts. You put a link in there when you're ready to boost it. And then you can also have offer posts. So this could be a guided report. It could be a demo offer, a free trial offer. This is what a lot of people don't get to in the thought leader ads. They just do the top of funnel, thought leader case study post. You can do offer posts with thought leader ads. And if this is a retargeting ad, then you could even, what we see gets you the most clicks and traffic is you might edit that post and put the link in twice. You'll have it at the bottom, and then you're also going to have it at the top. It's best if that's in view before the read more button pops up, so that somebody, again, it has to be a retargeting ad. They have to already know who you are and what you do for this to work effectively. Put the link at the very top and then also at the bottom. It's natural to be at the bottom, but then you'll get more clicks if it's in view to start.
Ooh, nice one. What about the, I think, was it the first ad format on LinkedIn, the in-mail?
What was the first ad format? That's a good historical question. I should go find that out. It was actually the text ads.
It's not a test, but I remember it as being in-mail as one of the first offerings, if at least amongst the first. But how do you guys work with those where you kind of ship messages to the inboxes of people, and like there's conversation ads, in-mails, stuff like that?
Emails can be extremely effective. And again, it's great if you can pair this with a thought leader ad. And if it's the same person you're using as the sender, just kind of creates a nice thread there. They're going to remember that person, be more familiar with them when they send the message. But message ads are great for retargeting. And the best positioning of it, and there's lots of things, there's lots of things that can work well, but the best positioning that works across the board is inviting somebody into that next step, and purely say that, like, hey, this is an invite to try, invite to see, invite to schedule a demo, whatever it is. That type of invite message ad converts the highest. So use that to invite somebody to the next step, whether it's a demo or whatever. But yeah, message ads are very effective. They land on the inbox and they get some of the highest read time because somebody can sit there and read it like an email.
Oh, that's cool. We've also had them. They haven't worked really well for book a demo, but they have worked well for get this ebook because that's a lot less to commit to, and kind of I'm not interested in a sales conversation right now, but the content you're sharing that's kind of interesting to me.
Yes. Yeah. Or inviting to events too is also very effective.
Oh man, time is flying super fast, and I need to get all my questions off. So you got your audience, you have your media or your creative running. Then kind of one of the classic questions that comes next is then kind of how much do we need to show each account our ad, or how many times should one person see our ads? What's the kind of typical guidance you give your customers on the frequency part of running ads on LinkedIn?
So in reality, the most ideal is once a day. That keeps you top of mind with the account. If you are a mid-size or enterprise account, you have the budget to spend to do that. That's the most ideal, most effective. Realistically, people don't even check LinkedIn every day on average. So realistic frequency is more in like the 7 to 15 range on a monthly basis. That's what you realistically want to aim for. And this can be a mixture of ad formats and retargeting. So especially as you get into retargeting, this is where using some of the cheaper formats can be useful. Dynamic ads, text ads can be good to start layer in there because those are free unless somebody clicks. So you might get a lot more impressions using those. But yeah, most ideal is once a day, keeps you top of mind, but realistically is more like 7 to 15 per month.
7 to 15 per month. Got it. Yeah, I think it's that kind of resonates pretty well with me. And actually, I do agree. Like once a day, like just see that logo once a day to make sure that if they were to make a list of vendors to solve whatever problem you solve today, then your name will be on this list. I think I've also seen like research about like that kind of vendors you want to talk to when acquiring a product, that is shrinking to being like people can't remember more than 1 or 2 brands for each problem. And if you want to be one of those 1 or 2 brands, you really have to have quite a high frequency.
You got to be on the short list. That's very true. There's a lot of research out there around that. And as you get to these later stages, there's a couple things that can be useful to add in there. As you get to later stages, I love to add in CTV ads. That's where getting more penetration into the accounts are great. You're starting to add in an off-platform placement. So people check LinkedIn a certain amount, maybe during the workday most often, every few days they'll check. Some people even at the company don't check LinkedIn at all. So that's where adding CTV ads can be useful to start to reach people off-platform and be able to reach those same people. So again, your open opportunity list, this is a great way to get more impact and reach into those accounts. And then something else you can do for like a measurement side of things is LinkedIn offers brand lift studies. So those are great for being able to see is our media helping improve brand recall and favorability. Those are like the 2 most common quiz tests, survey tests that we'll run. And you want to be, ideally you want to be seeing a lift there. It's a great way to test your creative on if it's making a positive impact. So yeah, brand lift tests and CTV ads are some of the best stuff to start to use in those later stages.
Something that I realized lately is that a CTV ad you cannot skip. So even though you're getting your ICP in the couch and they want to move past your ad, you can't skip it. So that's
also, most people aren't like quick enough with the remote to like grab it and then change the channel.
It's just like an ad inside a movie theater. Like people are forced to actually view it. So don't underestimate that opportunity.
And they can be actually quite cheap because there's a ton of inventory out there on TV and a lot fewer people are taking advantage of CTV. It's still brand new. TV videos are a lot more work to put together. So they're just a lot fewer and far between in usage. So there's a lot of inventory and a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I 100% agree on the frequency you said there. The another pain that we've had in the past has been that the algorithm is not always good to distribute budget amongst accounts.
Yeah.
To exemplify that, let's say you're running ads into like an audience and Amazon is inside that audience. If you're not careful, then like 80% of your budget might be skewed just to going into Amazon. And then the other 99 accounts you had in that segment doesn't get any budget. Have you faced this problem before?
Yes.
And how
Like
do you?
literally this week, I had this pop up on a new account that we launched. They had a target account list, but they had a company that got acquired by Amazon. Not kidding. We didn't talk about this beforehand, but they had a company that got acquired by Amazon. And then when you upload a list, LinkedIn's going to match it to the best company. They had updated their company name to say like acquired by Amazon, and there was something else in there that for whatever reason, LinkedIn matched that company to Amazon, not the old subsidiary company. And then yes, like it was like 89% of the impressions went to Amazon, and the rest of their TAM was like more like, mid-market small companies. So, after a few days, you take a look at that breakdown, you're like, oh, okay, I can see they're all going to Amazon. Why is that? Oh, this matched to the wrong company. Boom. We need to like fix our target account list. And then, for a lot of other people, that's still going to happen. A lot of times, the biggest companies have the most people, eat up the most impressions. So you have to start to use like a company level impression filter to start to spread those out.
That is it's really something that if you run LinkedIn ads at a certain scale, you really need to monitor this. Otherwise, your budget just ends up going only to a few companies.
Yeah. Yes. Monitoring your demographics as it runs, your companies as it runs, like that's what you want to be checking within the first like 1 to 2 weeks to make sure you're on the right track. Otherwise, you could look a month later and then you've got no results because you've reached the wrong people.
Yeah. Cool. So we've already like blazed through LinkedIn ads. Is there anything that we haven't discussed yet, Anthony, that typically sits quite high in your priority with clients?
I think we've covered like the big stuff. Thought lead ads are the biggest thing these days that we're incorporating into a lot of strategies, and still working with people and companies to get the right posts posted and then boosted. You don't want to just boost anything, but it does take very intentional, crafting of those posts so that they fit together the right ways in the funnel. And then building out those stages of your funnel is going to be very important so that you can cover the customer journey for all 272 days. So those are the most common things. Most people just start by copy pasting their Google ad strategy into LinkedIn or Meta ads, and then just going to fall flat. So really you got to take kind of another approach. And, at the end of the day, having the insights and the visibility that like Dream Data provides is super key to be able to craft those strategies. So you just have to like know that going into it.
Yeah, and I think if you run LinkedIn ads, do go and play back what Anthony said there in the beginning about how to get rid of the worst mistakes, because it's really like one of those like 80-20 or whatever you call it, like that will take you quite far fixing the basic or getting the basics right with LinkedIn ads. Are there any other kind of these basic things? Yeah, the one thing I remember, Anthony, is also the if you run international ads, that's kind of run in certain countries, then they have a ability to actually say you have to be like a permanent resident in this country, as opposed to you just landed in Italy and then you flew on to South Africa afterwards.
Yes, but the default is permanent or recent. You want to switch that to permanent most of the time, because recent, it can include travelers, but then also it can include people who virtual machine into another place and then log in there. And then lots of people work remotely, lots of people VM into different countries, lots of international people freelancing in the US will VM in, and then now you're targeting a lot of international people that you don't really want to target. So that's another good tip or trick.
Alicia is asking you to elaborate on the Amazon, the overspent, but we're out of time. So maybe Anthony, I can get you to go and comment afterwards on the episode to reply her.
I will. And then if anyone wants to learn more, we have the LinkedIn Ads Radio podcast, YouTube channel, and I have a LinkedIn learning course about LinkedIn ads. So lots of places where you can go to learn more. And you can find me on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out. Always happy to answer any questions.
I normally do this praise for my my guests, Anthony, but you did it perfectly. If I could then ask you to go put in the links under the live episode here, then people can find those
for sure.
Those paths. If I were to help you a little bit more, then kind of who is the typical customers of your company, Speedwork, then kind of people know if this is me who I need to reach out to Anthony.
Yeah, mostly B2B technology and software companies is most common. We do work with a pretty wide range of industries. So if you're selling B2 professional or B2B, and you want help with your LinkedIn ads, feel free to reach out. We can chat.
Fantastic, Anthony. Thank you so much for taking this time. It flew by, and yeah, I think we could talk a long time more about running LinkedIn ads.
We cover a lot. We'll do another episode sometime in the future.
Happy to. And like people, if you like this conversation, we would be so happy if you hit subscribe to our podcast. Then we can keep serving you nice. And at some point, hopefully, you'll book a demo with us, and we'll appreciate that.
You guys are on the journey, the customer journey right now.